Okay, so we're going to move on and do some work that's a little bit more useful than just plotting the individual points themselves. And we're going to start to look at something which is called the midpoint formula. Now, even just looking at the word itself there, midpoint, what do we think this might mean? Mid and point. So we're going to get a point in our answer, an x comma y answer, and mid means halfway. So we're going to be looking for the halfway point between two other points. Let's write that down straight away so that we know what the midpoint is. So the midpoint is the halfway point between two other points. Two other points. Sorry, I hope you can read my writing well enough there. Let's do an example of what this might be. Now you can see there that I've written down midpoint formula. So we're going to have a formula for doing this, but before we even use the formula, let's look at what it might look like on a graph. So if you need to pause the video and do a quick sketch of a Cartesian plane going as far as 5 in every direction, that would be good. So pause now if you need to. Okay, so in our example, we're going to write down that A, which is 1 minus 2, and B, which is minus 3, 4, are 2 points. And we're asked to find the midpoint. Let's give it a name as well, P of the line segment AB. Look at our geometry notation coming out there as well. So we're going to find the halfway point between these 2 points. Well, let's plot them on our Cartesian plane first of all, because it helps to have a visual representation. So A is the point 1 minus 2. So 1 minus 2, there's A. And B is the point minus 3, 4. So there's the point B. Like I said, sometimes I draw a circle around it just to make it clearer. I'm going to join these 2 points together. And how would I find where the halfway point is? I kind of eyeball it. Maybe I could measure it. So the distance between A and B is about 37 millimeters. So it should be around 18 and a half. Should be more or less here, okay? But are we sure? I think that the midpoint should be around here. There's a bit of a problem. I'm not exactly sure. It was hard to read it directly off my ruler. So while we can make a good guess at it by measuring and finding the halfway point, what is really useful is to use a formula. Now this formula is in our log tables, but I do want you to learn it off as well. So you'll be much quicker at these if you learn it off. So the midpoint of 2 points is given by x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Now that doesn't make too much sense yet. Let's put it in a box. I'll show you how to use it. There's my midpoint formula, and we need to write down something about it where the points are x1, y1 and x2, y2. So remember when we've been talking about points on the Cartesian plane, they're always in the form x comma y. X followed by y. X first, then y. And what this means is that this is my xy point, and this is the first 1. This is my first point, that's why it's got a 1 underneath it. And this is x comma y, and it's my second point. So it has a 2 underneath it. So what are we going to do when we want to use this formula? We're going to do some substitution. Okay, so this is actually a type of algebra. So to use this formula, we want to label our points as x1, y1 and x2, y2. It doesn't actually matter which one you call the first point and which one you call the second point, because the halfway is going to be the same in both cases. So remember, we had a, which is 1 minus 2, and b, which is minus 3, 4. Okay, and I'm going to say that a is my x1, y1, and b is my x2, y2, like that. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, are you with me so far? Because I know this is a little bit strange. My formula talks about a first point and a second point, and they are both x comma y. This is my first point, this is my second point. Then I use my formula and I replace. So replace the x1, y1, x2, y2 in the formula with the values that you have from your question. So let's look how we do that. So my formula says that the midpoint is this. The midpoint is x1 plus x2. x1 is 1. x2 is a minus 3. Can I plus a minus 3? I can. It's the same as subtracting it. 1 minus 3, and then I'm going to divide it by 2. The second part of it is the y values. Minus 2 is my y1, plus 4 is my y2, and I'm going to divide that by 2 as well. And then what do I do with that? Well, you can just use your calculator. You can't put the whole thing in, but I can certainly do 1 minus 3 over 2. 1 minus 3 over 2. Now, this is something you should be able to do in your head anyway. That's negative 2 divided by 2. It gives us minus 1. Minus 1, comma, and the second part, minus 2 plus 4, minus 2 plus 4, and then divided by 2. That's going to give me 1. And now, let's go back up to my coordinate diagram up here. Minus 1, 1. Yes, that is my midpoint. Okay, so I'm feeling fairly satisfied that I was able to find the midpoint of those. Yeah, I did a pretty good job with the ruler, but I might have been off. But the formula, I can really rely on this, and I don't have to spend time drawing it out either. So that's my midpoint formula. Let's do one more example with this. Then I do want you to try a few of these yourselves, but just do them during class time today. I don't want you taking any homework into the midterm break. So let's just do another example. And we're going to say, use the midpoint formula. And if you want to, you can pause the video once you've taken down the question and try it out yourselves and check if you get the same answer as me. Use the midpoint formula to find the midpoint between, do my points have to be A and B? They don't, they could be anything. C, which is, we'll say 3 minus 4, and D, which is minus 1, comma 8. Okay, so those are the points I'm going to go between. So the first thing I'm going to do, every time one of these questions comes up, I'm going to write down the formula because that helps me learn it off. It's x1 plus y1 divided by 2. Sorry, it's not. It's x1 plus x2 That's what happens when I'm not concentrating. So my formula is the average of the x values. So what are x1 and x2? There's an x and a y in both points, and this is my first point, and this is my second point. That's how we label them. And then I have y1 plus y2 and divided by 2. What are we actually doing here? We are finding the average of the x values and the average of the y values. So 3 minus 1 over 2 and minus 4 plus 8 over 2. Let's do this one without the calculator. 3 take 1 is 2, 2 over 2, minus 4 plus 8 is 4, 4 over 2, and that will simplify to give me 1, 2. And we don't need to draw it at all, that is the answer. Okay, so look, it's fairly easy to explain at once, but it's a little bit tricky to really grasp this until you've practiced it a few times. So that's all I want you to do for the rest of today's maths time, is to do some practice with these, and I'll put up some questions from the book into Google Classroom for you to do that. Thank you.